This episode of Access to the Arts is being made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together. And by Phillips Drugs. Phillips Drugs is your good neighbor pharmacy with free delivery and Pill Pack 2.0. Phillips Drugs with 3 locations, East Side, West Side, or downtown Richmond, and online at phillipsdrugs.com. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Access to the Arts on WCTV Channel 20. Thanks a lot for joining us. We are going to have another great show letting you know of a lot of things going on in the community. And one of the events that has really taken control is the Meltdown, which has been around for 5 years now.
Yeah, I should know that.
It seems like it's just been going for a while.
Yeah.
And you're talking for it, and I've never really talked to you about it before. Yeah. My first guest is Allison Zeidel. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having us.
No problem. First of all, let's start with the date so people can mark these on the calendar.
Yeah, the Meltdown is happening this year. It's always the last weekend in January, so you can always kind of cross that off on your calendar. But this year, the carvers arrive on the 21st, which is on a Monday night, and then they will stay until the following Sunday, which is the 27th. But the bulk of the activities happen kind of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that week.
There are some things that people are incredibly used to. The throwdown, which used to be the ice fights, those are happening. I assume Elstro Plaza is going to be the main location again for a lot of that.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure we keep the focus on Elstro Plaza. It's such a nice meeting space, and you can access a lot of parking in that area. And so we're there for Friday night for the big reveal is what it's called this year, which is when they're going to do 2 sculptures at the same time, and then they're going to put it all together into one gigantic sculpture together. So it's less of a competition and more of just this really cool opportunity to watch these sculptors work. And then on Saturday night, there's the Meltdown Throwdown, and that is the competition. That's the one where we're, it's a divided community that night. Yes. Ice and fire, and they're battling it to the end. So that's
it's good to see that those themes have kind of held for the last few years.
It is. They've done really well, and the Meltdown just keeps growing and changing in lots of different ways. So we have a lot of the same events that we had last year. So the Chili for Charity is always a really important one to us. That happens on Thursday at the library, and that's where all the nonprofits, not all of them, but a lot of nonprofits get together. They have a celebrity chef in town that helps them create a really award-winning chili, and then the community can come in and buy some tickets, and then they're supporting those nonprofits. So if you get the most in your bin, the most votes, then you win. I think it's been upwards of $800, $900. So it's not a bad deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the kids, you mentioned Morrison Reed's Library. The kids always have a chance to see Andrew Thistlethwaite do a nice ice sculpture for them.
Yeah, Andrew is pretty incredible, and they always have somebody there on Tuesday night at the library where you can get really close to the sculptors, and they will go through and do a beautiful sculpture for you while the kids are actually asking questions and talking to the sculptors. So it's pretty amazing to be that close to the artist, and you're getting a little bit of the cold off of the ice sculptures and everything. It's a really good time. But some of that happens, that's outside, and there are also good opportunities this year for you to be inside and watching. So the Leland, you can watch that on, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, all of our events will be on Richmond Meltdown, so you go to the web and make sure I'm getting the dates right. But you can be inside the Leland and watch the carvers right outside those beautiful, huge windows, and they're doing all of their carving while you're nice and snugly inside enjoying a warm drink. So that's nice. Also a really nice place to go.
Warm drinks always sound good.
It's always lovely, isn't it, in January?
Obviously, the support for this has continued to grow.
It has.
Probably need to thank some of the sponsors.
We do, and I didn't want to forget people, but we have main stage sponsors. So we have a lot of wonderful sponsors, and they're all listed on social media and on our website. But there are some that are particularly just very, very generous each year. And Ephraimson Family Foundation, they're actually out of Indianapolis, and they sponsor this event. They know how important it is for the community and for the art part of the community. And the Indiana Arts Commission has done so much to keep this event going. And they really value the art part of this. I mean, this is an art event. This is, these sculptors are world-class sculptors. sculptors, and they're doing something amazing. Just because it goes away doesn't mean it's just really high-class sculptor, high-class work. And then Indiana University East has always been a wonderful sponsor as well. But it takes everyone, Stam Koshline Family Foundation, City of Richmond, and there are a lot of people that come together to make this event a reality.
Talk about a lot of people coming together to make it a reality, but it also is beginning to be a very nice tourist attraction. People are marking this on their calendar and coming in to see this.
They are. We love that. We love that. We want the hotels to be filled, and we want restaurants to be bustling, and we want all of the downtown and Depot District and East Side and West Side businesses. We want everybody to be benefiting from this weekend. So we're really hopeful if you are a business in town and you even just make a special hot chocolate that weekend and name it, you know, the Frosty hot chocolate or something. Do that and use this event to promote yourself and use the hashtag Richmond Meltdown and do those things to make sure that your business is benefiting from it, because we are bringing a lot of people into town.
If somebody wants to volunteer to be a part of this, or if a business wants to be involved in it just a little bit more, how can they reach you or somebody else involved?
Absolutely. If they go to Richmond Meltdown, if you Google Richmond Meltdown, will be the first ones you'll see on there. And you can also go to Facebook and search us there, Richmond Meltdown as well. And both of those are great ways to do the send message tab, or you can click on the website. There are opportunities to contact somebody. But there are also so many Meltdown volunteers right now. You probably know someone that is on the Meltdown committee. So ask somebody, hey, I want to volunteer this year. They will quickly link you up to Chuck Fox, who is our volunteer coordinator, and he's amazing and will put you right to work.
All right. We're going to have Allison back next month, talk a little bit more in detail about some of the specifics. But right now, mark the last week of January on your calendar. Meltdown is coming back, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever.
Absolutely.
Allison, thanks for spending some time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The interesting thing about the Ice Festival itself is that it can only happen at a certain time during the year. And it always happens at a point where people don't want to come outside and be involved with the community. And people are coming out to see the ice sculptures, but they're also coming to see us create what we want to do. And that is at the core why we got into it at the beginning, is to bring what we do and express it and show it to other people.
We started the Meltdown 5 years ago when I came to town, and I saw an opportunity to try to help the city make something, positive in the wintertime. My son and I have started a couple of these festivals in southern Michigan, and we saw that it really was a big economic boon to cities in the middle of January when nothing is going on. Everybody's bored, Christmas is over, the only thing they got left is the bills. So now it's like, what will get people out of the house and have something to do? And these ice festivals have been really popular.
Our city's been waiting for a long time for that next festival to come along. That's not just another festival, but is that next catalyst. And the Meltdown Winter Ice Festival is just that. Not only does it see a spike in economic development and people that come here to enjoy the city and to enjoy the festival, but it sparks that conversation and that inspiration in art. People see temporary art and then they don't want it to go away. So they come into this office and they say, I saw a sculpture there, can I build something to put there permanently? So we are using a festival and using a base to draw in not only economic development, but art inspiration. And that's a very, very important thing for a city to have.
Of course, Richmond is known historically and currently as an artistic community. And so one of the appeals for the art community and the arts groups that support this event is the fact that this is an artistic event. And we're very pleased that this year, for the first year, we received an Indiana Arts Commission grant. And that is because of the artistic components of this Meltdown.
We're really showcasing an art that is it's kind of a temporary art. It's art. It's kind of like going to a symphony where, once you leave, it's over. All you have is a memory of it. Ice is the same way. After a couple of days, it's gone, and you have to wait till it comes around again.
We can sit here and take a photograph and say that this one photograph means that much. Well, what's the difference in ice? If you don't appreciate it and you don't see it at that moment, then it's just a photograph. And to be able to take it to that next level and have something that's truly three-dimensional that they can appreciate from all around, appreciate for what it truly is. I enjoy doing the abstract, and then something that's just strictly for the sake of art. You know, so either way, in my case, as long as I'm out there creating, that's what I want more than anything else.
These are very talented people from all over the United States, award winners. Most of them work in the culinary arts, and so this gives them an opportunity to be maybe more artistic than what they normally are through their day job.
The Meltdown is different from a typical day-to-day what we do at the shop, because especially here in Richmond, is that, you know, the community is thrilled to have us as artists, and they invite us as artists, and they allow us the freedom to do what we want. So we pretty much, you know, have free reign to do whatever we want with all this ice.
Obviously, we want people to see the artistic endeavors that are part of this festival, as well as just having a great time, enjoying your friends and your family, interacting with the sculptures. The interactive sculptures are great. A lot of thought goes into this in terms of the creativity and the development of each sculpture.
For us as professional ice carvers, there's nothing better. And in Richmond, they give us all the love back, because they enjoy us, and everywhere we've been, there's no other community that has been so excited about what we do, and I think that's amazing.
Welcome back to Access to the Arts. We have moved locations, and actually, I don't think we've ever recorded in this room.
I don't believe so.
We are in the offices of the Richmond Symphony Orchestra, the hallowed halls. I can see all the tickets over there. This is pretty neat. Monica Kochline, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate being here.
You all are busy. Normally people start to get to the holidays and they go, okay, we're going to wind down, we're going to take a few weeks off. I think you all are winding up a little bit more.
It's becoming a bit of a frenzy. I'm looking at our calendar. My staff is getting a little nervous. I keep telling them we can handle it. We can take on more. We can do more. You know, anytime this community wants to present you with an opportunity, you run with it. So.
Okay, and you've got a lot of opportunities. Let's backtrack a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, you had the Young Artist Competition. 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented young performers. Talk a little bit about how that went this year.
Absolutely. We changed the rules a bit, widened our scope a little bit, just based on wanting to provide the opportunity for more participants. And so this year was the first year that we invited our musicians, if they had a student that they were working with directly, to compete, whether they're kind of within the donut range or not. So we ended up with a French horn player, one of our principal French horn player, Darren Sorley's students. We ended up with a student, Evelyn Woolard, our principal flutist. We ended up with a student of hers. We ended up with a student from Richmond High School, Seton, and one from Middletown, close to Newcastle.
Okay. The winner of the competition?
The winner of the competition, I'm really excited, is a local gal, Richmond High School junior, Emma Sosi.
A singer. Now, I've recorded this event for WCTV for a few years. First time I can remember a vocalist being part of this.
I've been with the symphony for 5 years. Just celebrated my 5-year anniversary last week.
Okay.
And no, we've not had a vocalist in quite some time. So.
And she won. So she will actually be performing with the with the Symphony Orchestra on December 2nd.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, on stage. We're really excited to have her.
All right. Now, December 2nd is also turning out to be a big day. You all are teaming up, and this is the first time, we're talking about a lot of firsts, the first time I can remember you all teaming up with a retail outlet like this in the mall, Dillard's. Talk about this VIP event.
So Dillard's contacted us, the general manager, and said that he'd love to work with us. They have an event, a VIP night. I think this is pretty typical of them. They have it on Sunday, December 2nd. The mall closes at 6 o'clock, as you're well aware, and Dillard's kind of brings out the glitz and glamour and reopens at 6:30. Invites the community to come in to receive discounts. And we'll have a harpist there. So we're really excited to have that partnership for the first time.
Okay. Another first, the Symphony Orchestra is really kind of working with the Performing Arts Series, the Proudly Presenting Series for Civic Hall, where their artists and some of your performers are working together. Gentry is going to be performing. Talk about how that came about and what's expected of that.
Well, as you know, the new facilities manager, John Cook, has a lot of fire and a lot of excitement. He was touring and finding acts for this year. It was probably almost a year and a half ago that he was doing that, and found this trio and just loved them. Just raved about them, and then mentioned that they perform with symphonies, that they like to do that. We still wanted it to be a Civic Hall event, but we wanted to support it. And so Civic Hall has hired 24 of our musicians to perform with Gentry that's December the 8th. So the Saturday after our Sunday concert. So it's a busy time. It's a good time. And that same day we'll have 3 brass players head over and play at the Veterans Dinner as well, the Coleman Center.
Okay, and that's an event that continues to grow every year also, and that's really good that the veterans are getting that recognition and having a chance to have that holiday dinner.
It is nice.
You all are teaming up with
People keep finding me. It's just a good thing.
This is an important office. That's why we had to come here. People keep finding this office. But you all are teaming up with Bethany Seminary, which is a name that more and more we're hearing in the community. They've been there for a while, but kind of one of those hidden gems, but they are beginning to come out. You all are putting together a recital series. What is that? And tell us a little bit about what can be expected.
So about a year ago at a Christmas party, the president of Bethany Seminary, Jeff Carter, whispered to me, I'd really like to collaborate together and support some efforts from the symphony and bring people into our space. That's the big push on Bethany right now, is to bring people to them and bring people to their space and be open to the community. So they've undergone a major renovation that they haven't really opened yet to the public, so I'm excited to see it. I don't believe that any of the renovations occurred in the chapel. I believe that those occurred at an earlier time. But in the Night Carey Chapel, they asked us to host a recital series. This recital series will start in the spring. We'll have 3 this season, and then we'll have 3 series next season. So we're really excited. So we have the first 3 set. They open on January the 20th, and our concertmaster, Mari Thomas, will be with us performing. I believe it's just her with piano, so I'm kind of excited for that one. And then on February 10th, we'll have Adagio Trio. Again, our principal flutist, Evelyn Woolard, will be with us with a couple of other musicians. And we'll end with the brass on March 24th. I believe it's 3 brass players led by Wes Woolard, our principal trumpet. It's a really nice opportunity. Bethany's a little nervous because seating capacity is about 100 to 150 max. And so we are asking people, while the events are free, we are asking people to RSVP to those by calling our office.
Okay. What's the number so people know?
Sure, 765-966-5181.
Now, we've talked about they're going to be performing at Civic Hall with one of their performers. They're going to be Bethany. They're going to be one of the things I think that came out of your brochure this year was showing the artists and your performers out in the community. This is really following up on that theme.
Absolutely, it is, and we're carrying through that next year. We've already taken all of our photos for the next brochure. And we'll be at exciting places like Richmond Art Museum. We were at Richmond Neighborhood Restoration, at Hayes Arboretum, the new Playground with a Purpose, Richmond Civic Theater. We've got a lot of really nice places covered.
Nice. Now, bringing the symphony back home.
Can I mention one more event? Because I just thought of it, because I have so many going.
Okay.
I'm having trouble keeping track.
There's one I didn't get in my notes, but go for it.
And this is a little far ahead, but right along this chain, last year we had a free brass concert of 10 musicians at Holy Family. We had that in January last year, but we moved it back a little bit this year. But our brass players are really excited to come back. That'll be February 24th at Holy Family, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, last year the crowd was 300 to 350 people. So we're excited. Our brass players were really excited to be welcomed so generously by the community.
Okay. If people want to see the symphony, obviously there's a lot going on with you all. There are still some tickets available for shows, and they can get them even at a reduced price right now.
Yeah, so December tickets, I will mention, are going quickly. So if people want December tickets, they need to get a hold of me just almost immediately, or we're going to be on a wait list. But as we besides all the community events, we still have 3 concerts this season. February 2nd, we'll be back here. We have Alyssa Morris has commissioned to work for the symphony, and that will be played by the symphony for the very first time on February 2nd. We're very excited. She's going to do a couple of community events and talk to some women and some different groups in the community about what it means to be a female composer in a predominantly male career. In addition to that, March 16th, we'll be back at the Seton Gym. And it'll be a nice event. It's always a nice gathering, kind of a concert in the round, and we'll end the season back here on April the 6th.
That's a different kind of place, though, the Seton Gym.
It
I know
is.
the first time people heard that, they were going, how's that going to work in how's that going to work in the gym setting?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's worked out pretty well.
It's worked out really well, and we have a lot of people that just specifically like that concert. It's really interesting. We set chairs all the way around the symphony, and so people can sit back and watch what the percussionists do behind the percussionists, and they can really sit right next to the violinists and see what they really do.
That's neat.
So it's become very popular. So we're selling half season tickets for February, March, and April. And again, youth under the age of 18 remain free.
Okay. Is there anything else, or has the staff kind of gone, Monica, stop?
I know.
Like mine is going, Eric, no more.
No, just keep going. Just preparing for our signature event on April 27th. Everybody needs to mark their calendars as the RSO goes
It's the party.
back
Are we
to
moving?
the 80s.
Okay.
Back to the 80s.
The decade's moving up a little bit.
Decades are moving up, but we're still headed back. So we'll see what Ginger Gray has in mind for us.
Another Ginger Gray production. I saw it for the first time last year. It truly is an extravaganza.
It's a wild ride.
It's a party.
It is. So.
All right. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric.
When you talk about the arts, you talk about music. And when you talk about music in Richmond and Wayne County, you have to talk about Gennett Records. There's a documentary that's been produced by WTIU down in Bloomington, the public broadcasting station down there. It's been worked on for the last year and a half or so, and this past spring, we had a chance to talk to the producer of that documentary, Todd Gould, as he was here doing some shooting. We started out by asking him what he really knew about the history of Gennett Records and music.
I knew somewhat about Gennett, particularly the early jazz stuff. I knew that from the early 90s when I started doing some initial research into that. I had been doing a lot of work in different parts of Indiana history for different kinds of documentaries. Knew a little bit about some of the early jazz history. Was really fascinated to learn so much more about early, other forms of early roots music that was being developed at Gennett. So much of the earliest blues, the earliest country music, gospel music was all coming out of Richmond at the time. So if you were a classical artist, if you were an opera soloist, then you would sing or you would perform in New York City. If you did anything else, you were in Richmond, Indiana, and you were performing here in Richmond. We started working on this about a year and a half ago, doing research. I had been doing some preliminary research with Rick Kennedy, who wrote the book Jelly Roll, Bix, and Hoagie, which was a sort of a comprehensive history of the Gennett Studios here in Richmond. And so I'd been talking with him some on and off, and of course talking about the idea of doing a documentary about this for PBS. I think it was a pretty easy decision to make for WTIU to go and look at this, because number one, it's a great Indiana story, but it's also a great story about how Indiana had a greater impact nationally and internationally. And I always like kind of telling those stories where a pebble drops in Indiana, but the ripples echo out much further. And certainly that's easy to point out with Gennett. When the development of the phonograph and the development of the record company comes into play in the 19-teens and the 1920s here in Richmond, in particular. It opens the door to all kinds of exposure to musical genres that had not been exposed previously across America. And so here, just a few hours away by train from Richmond, is Chicago, which is really the jazz and blues capital of the world at the time in the 1920s. And we know the 1920s as the jazz age now, and that really was born of a group of musicians that came up from New Orleans and settled in these clubs in Chicago. And so it didn't take much for the Star Piano folks who had a store in Chicago to put these bands on a train, and or in a car, and they'd run them down to Richmond, Indiana, and they would start to record at Gennett. And so many of those early seminal jazz recordings were coming right out of Richmond, Indiana. The documentary is a 90-minute show. It's called The Music Makers of Gennett Records, and it will air on PBS stations around Indiana. We'll debut on WTIU at IU in Bloomington, and then we'll also have a debut here in Richmond in December. And then we'll go out to Indiana public television stations the next month, and then out to American public television stations in the month after that. So it'll be stretched out from Richmond will be celebrated once again 100 years later with this documentary, we hope.
The original release date of The Music Makers of Gennett Records is November 25th at 8 p.m. at WTIU in Bloomington. It'll also be streaming on Facebook Live. If you'd like to find out when you can see it in other places and on other PBS stations, visit WTIU.org/Gennett. Thanks for watching this month's Access to the Arts. We appreciate the conversations we've been able to have. As we go out, we'll leave you with some idea of some things that you can do as you access the arts in Wayne County. This episode of Access to the Arts has been made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together. And by Phillips Drugs. Phillips Drugs is your good neighbor pharmacy with free delivery and Pill Pack 2.0. Phillips Drugs with 3 locations, East Side, West Side, or downtown Richmond, and online at phillipsdrugs.com.